time to talk about some pointers, some general pointers to help you always have relevant evidence. And of course, that's what this learning target is all about. And as you conduct your research for your junior project essay, these are things you really need to keep in mind. Some of these might surprise you. For example, first one here, don't use Google. Okay, I'm going to highly discourage you, just short of forbidding you from using regular Google. Why? Well, Ms. Harrison, are you anti-Google? Of course not. I love Google. I use Google constantly in my everyday life. But when you're conducting research, you don't want to cast that wide of a net. Okay, Google casts a very wide net, and it's a very mixed bag what you're going to get back from it. And a lot of the sources are not going to be credible. So to help you out with that one, I've put together this list of, these are good places for you to go as you're researching. Now this is still in progress. There's going to be probably a lot more sources in here by the time you see the finished product, but here's a preview of this source list I've compiled for you. And these are all live links that go to websites that will give you good information that you can trust. Okay, and I went so far as to divide it sort of by academy, although, depending on what question you're researching, you might find that, even though you are in engineering, you might need to dip into some of these business websites, for example. It really depends on your thesis claim. So you're not limited to only what's listed in your academy. I just thought that this would be helpful. So the top is all different academies. You can see I don't have anything here yet. Again, this will change and there will be more available to you. And then I kind of put together news and articles for all topics could come from any of these websites. You should definitely recognize some of these: New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, NPR, Time Magazine. And then these are search engines, okay, like Google is a search engine. These are search engines for all topics that are going to yield you better results than Google. And some of them are Google based. So I don't know if you knew this, but Google Scholar, I'll go ahead and show you what this looks like for the heck of it. This is a Google run search engine, but they're going to be only searching for scholarly sort of articles, and so that's going to be a lot more valuable to you than just regular straight up Google. Same with Google Books. Matter of fact, over here it says search engines for all topics. It says read about what these are and how to use them here. This is where I got these ideas mostly. There's a few that I added on just myself, but this is a college website actually, so somebody that worked at this college put together for their students, but you get to use it too. 15 scholarly search engines that every student should bookmark. And so you can read about each one of those there. So this tells you what Google Scholar is. It was created as a tool to congregate scholarly literature on the web. Okay, Google Books allows web users to browse an index of thousands of books from popular titles to old to find pages that include your search items. So this is where it actually searches through books. So that could be very helpful. And this kind of tells you what a lot of these are. Okay. And then I just kind of threw on some topics that are kind of non-specific to an academy, but might apply to lots of different academies, such as science, history, and law. And again, by the time you see this, I'm hoping there are a lot more options on here. But these are all places that I want you to go instead of just searching Google. Okay, Google is fine, especially as you were trying to form your thesis and come up with big reasons for your concession, claim, reason, style, thesis statement. But as you start to get into actually researching to support those reasons, I want you to use these sources instead of Google. So that's number one. Number one, general pointer for finding relevant evidence is to not use Google. Instead, use this, and of course there will be a link to this in the playlist for you. Okay, second pointer for you, research, writers, and organizations. So most likely if you're using something from one of these websites, so let's pick on Psychology Today. Maybe you're in the Health Science Academy and you're going to write something about psychological issues. Maybe you want to come to Psychology Today. Okay? Maybe specifically your thesis has to do with anxiety. Maybe anxiety in modern society. I don't know if this will come up with anything for me or not. But I'm searching Psychology Today, which Ms. Harrison said is a good source. Okay, so these are all different articles from Psychology Today. Does anxiety help you survive in the modern world? Interesting. So let's click on that. So the pointer that we're looking at, remember, is to research writers and organizations. So here's our writer, Douglas T. Kendrick, PhD. Okay. Well, that PhD looks good. That means he has a doctorate degree. That means he has not just a master's degree, but a doctorate degree. So he's gone to school for a very, very, very long time. But if I clicked on his name, I'm going to show you again what I did. Okay, this is what I mean by researching the authors, the writers, and the organizations. Okay. I clicked on his name. And fun fact, most of the articles that you're going to find, when you find the author, their name, even if it doesn't look like it, will be a live link. So click on it. And then it gives you this little bio about this guy. He's the author of over 200 scientific articles, books, and book chapters, mostly applying to evolutionary ideas to human behavior and thought processes. Okay, so he's looking at the history, the evolutionary history, in a psychological light. Okay, and this goes on and on about this guy, but I can already tell. So this is the name of a book that he wrote. Okay, but he publishes scientific articles all the time, and he has his PhD, so I can trust him. Okay, so there, I researched my author. So you don't want to take it for granted ever that if you find an article and it relates to your topic, that it's written by somebody who knows what they're talking about, because anybody can publish a blog these days. Sometimes you get some junk, okay, and you don't want to cite some junk in your. It's not going to be good evidence. It's not going to support what you say very well. And what I mean by organizations, sometimes an author's not listed, but say for example, sticking with health, science, human services, American Heart Association, okay? So maybe you were researching something and there wasn't an author listed for an article. But it was on the American Heart Association's website. That would be the organization that was responsible for publishing that information on the internet. We know that the American Heart Association is a trustworthy organization, so we could trust that article. Okay, that's what that means. Alright, next, find dates. Okay, I'm not talking about for Friday night, going to the movies. I'm talking about when was this article published. Okay, here, right here, this was posted March 21st of 2015. So it is 3 years old. Ish, okay? So it's not the most current. It could be, but it's not really old. It's not like written in 1995 or something, okay? So, that matters, especially we're talking about helping you survive in the modern world, okay? Modern. So if this guy is talking about modern society, but the article was published in 1995 or 1985, things have changed so much. The meaning of the word modern matters a lot here. But 2015, it's still probably current enough. Life was somewhat similar 3 years ago as it is now, especially technologically speaking. I'm sure he talks about modern society from a technology standpoint. Very similar, okay? So I would say that this checks out. I could still use this as a relevant source today. Okay, so finding dates is important, and they're not always going to be in the same place. In fact, they're always going to be in a different place. So you really might have to hunt sometimes. And of course, if you're really stumped, you can hail me over and I'll try to help you find it. Make sure articles are not opinion pieces. This gets trickier and trickier. There have been a lot of controversies about how a lot of news these days, it didn't used to be this way, even when I was younger. Cable news has kind of blurred the lines between what is objective opinion, what is an objective fact, and what is a subjective opinion, because a lot of newscasters tend to comment on things and not in an objective voice. So we're going to definitely be talking about objective voice. But like, for example, if I were to go to, I will just show you. If I go to npr.org, okay, this is a news website. No, I'll do you one better. Let's look at CNN. I think it's a lot more apparent on CNN, or even on like New York Times. We'll open this one too. I'll show you in a couple. Okay, so CNN here is loading. And again, no matter what your academy is, no matter what your topic is, I would make use of these websites, CNN, New York Times, NPR. They're going to have a little bit of something for everybody because they publish news, and there are news about lots of different topics. Okay, look up here at the top where my cursor is. There's the CNN. Here are all like the subtopics. Of course, you can just hit this search bar and search. But maybe your topic is about technology, so there's a tech section. Maybe you're talking about health, okay? But I want to draw your attention right here. Opinion, okay? So anything published in this section is going to be somebody's opinion about something that's going on. You should not cite opinion pieces as objective evidence, okay? Because these are not facts, these are somebody's opinion, and so they are labeled. I can't remember if NPR has a section devoted to this. Let's look in their topics. I don't see a specific opinion section here. However, I know for a fact New York Times does. Okay. They're always going to try to get you subscribed. Okay, so look along the top here at all these topics. World, U.S., politics, New York, business, opinion. Okay? So if I were to just go on one of these websites, CNN for example, and hit this search bar and search for something, okay, it's not going to separate the opinion pieces out, okay, but they should be labeled somewhere, or it should be very obvious as you're reading it that it is in the voice of somebody's specific opinion. It's not just reporting the facts, reporting something as it happened, but it's rather telling you what somebody thinks about something. So you want to make sure to avoid these types of articles, okay, when you are trying to objectively support your stance with evidence. So these are just some general pointers, but of course there's, as you start to research, you might encounter some obstacles or questions. So please, of course, as always, record your questions in your playlist so that when I get to you, we can talk about them and you don't forget your questions. You can always copy links. So if you get to something and you're not sure if it's a relevant, credible source, you just want to run something by me, just copy and paste that link in your playlist. Let's see if I have the playlist open here. I can show you where exactly to do that. Okay, so for example, over here, where it says your notes and questions, just copy and paste a link over there. And that way we can talk about it when I get to you, because I don't want you to forget questions.